LAPD Sergeant Cheryl Dorsey. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
When you watched the video of George Floyd and what happened, do you believe the third-degree murder charge was appropriate?
I think it's offensive, it's insulting, it's unsatisfactory. I'm not even an attorney and I can prove intent. I think the attorneys are being a little lazy because they feel like they can't prove the intent. Listen, as a tenured veteran police officer, 19 years on the department, subject to 18 personnel complaints, he knows a thing or two about use of force. And he sat with purpose and intent on Mr. Floyd's neck for over 8 minutes with his knee on the back of his neck, using his toes to create leverage and additional pressure. There was intent, and I find it offensive.
How do you explain the delay in charges against the other officers who stood there?
Listen, I can't explain it. I think if it were an ordinary person, if it was me and anybody else who looks like me, they'd have no problem putting a case together. Very preliminarily, probable cause exists. They stood by. They were co-conspirators. They acquiesced, which is police misconduct in and of itself, criminal in that it led to the death of George Floyd. And so I don't know why they are having such a hard time figuring out how to bring charges against these officers.
Cheryl, Los Angeles is certainly no stranger to tensions between police officers in the community, Rodney King obviously being the most extreme example of that. What would you say about the anger and frustration that has been building in many African-American communities throughout our nation over decades?
Listen, this has been going on since way before Rodney King. I mean, we knew that this went on, but Rodney King's video proved it. We've been complaining about it prior to and ever since. Nothing has changed since Rodney King. Nothing has changed substantively 6 years ago since Eric Garner, Mike Brown, John Crawford, and everyone else who lost their life at the hands of an errant police officer. And so people are frustrated. And having watched someone for the very first time in my life take their last breath on television is very triggering.
You just mentioned a few different cases, and unlike Rodney King, when the video, that was kind of rare, now we have it all the time. And we've been talking about de-escalation training for police for years now. Why are we still having the problem?
It's the culture, it's police culture, and it's police chiefs, because understand every chief was once an officer who shelter and coddle errant police officers who look the other way, as this police chief did for 18 different instances. When people complained about this officer, it's not like they didn't know over there in Minneapolis who Derek Chauvin was. It's not like they don't know who Officer Tao is. He too was the subject of a personnel complaint that resulted in a $25,000 civil settlement. Why? Because he knocked the teeth out of a man's head. And so listen, that's why we're here, because they have failed to take appropriate action. And really, I know it won't happen, but in some regards, the police chief is just as culpable, because had he done his job years ago, Mr. Floyd may very well be here.
So let me ask you about, I'm sure different police departments do this differently. There's always been a problem of accountability. Who should be in charge of accountability? Should it be the community? Is it a hybrid? How does it work best?
Well, certainly the community is going to be the one who's going to put the pressure on the police chief to hold his officers accountable. Police chiefs have tremendous autonomy, and so if they don't have an independent civilian review board in your town, they should get one, and they should have some teeth behind them so that they don't just make a recommendation and have the police chief say thank you. People need to understand that everyone who serves at the pleasure of a mayor, a police chief, mayors are elected, district attorneys are elected, governors are elected, and so put the pressure on your elected officials to put folks in place who are going to do the right thing.
Cheryl Dorsey, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.